Hello and welcome. Today we're working on the BA2 Plus calculator tutorial. We've got a full playlist. We're going to solve for future value and show you how your calculator can do this. Hey, if you're new, my name's Jeff from Finally Learn, and I teach a lot of accounting, finance, the calculator, Excel, so on. So let's get started. So future value, we did a video prior to this on our playlist of the introduction to time value of money. So let's talk about the 5 different variables that we have in time value of money, and also we have a setting, the periods per year. So let's run through this, and we're going to show 4 different problems so you can make sure you understand how to solve for future value problems. Now, P/Y is the periods per year, and I'm going to pull up the calculator here. So P/Y is above the interest, so we're going to set the periods per year. So if it's an annual problem, we put 1. If it's semi-annually, we put 2. If we put 4, that means it's quarterly or monthly. Now, 360 and 365 represents the days of the year. Some calculations, they calculate the days of the year as 360, and so there makes the math a little bit easier sometimes. And so sometimes banks use loans that are 360-day years as the calculation rather than 365. Now, future value is just a time value of money problem, and the time value of money buttons are right here on the 3rd row, N and I and PV and PMT and FV. So N is the number of periods. So if we're working a monthly problem, if you borrow money for 5 years for a car and pay it back monthly, then that's going to be 60 periods, 60 months rather than 5 years. So we're going to be careful. We're always going to put the number of periods. It could be years, but it could be quarters or months or days or even semi-annual half years. The interest rate we're going to put as an annual rate, the full rate, not the amount each month or each quarter. The PV stands for present value. That's the lump sum or the single amount at the beginning of a problem. The PMT represents the payment, so that's a stream of equal payments. Positive, negative, it could be monthly, could be annually, it could be quarterly. And so that's called an annuity. So a stream of equal payments is the PMT button. This video, we're going to calculate the future value, which is a lump sum at the end of the problem. So we have 5 years from now, what's the amount worth or whatever. Now, here's the way I enter numbers in the calculator. I always set the periods per year. And then, for example, for future value, I enter everything. I enter all 4 variables and then solve for future value. Now, one thing I do is I never clear the calculator. I just put numbers in, and if this number is going to be 0, then I put in a 0. I put 4 things in and solve for the 5th one always. So let's do a couple of problems. The first problem is, let's say we invest $13,000 for a period of 5 years. That interest is going to accrue at 6% compounded monthly. What is the future value? Well, my periods per year is really a setting, so I'm going to put that as, since it's monthly, so that's going to be 12 periods per year, or monthly is the compounding frequency. The number of periods is going to be 5 years times 12 months. That's going to be 60 months. We're going to invest $13,000. The interest rate is 6%. I'm going to enter that as a full annual rate, not 6% divided by 12. That's going to be like a 0.5% per month. And then we have a payment. Is there any payment that happens either plus to the account or minus from the account, any investment to or withdrawal from? Well, there's not. So I'm going to enter 0. Now, we have everything. We're going to enter it just like this, and we're going to solve for the future value. So here's my calculator. I need to first of all set periods per year. So I'm going to do second function, and above the interest, it says periods per year. So I'm going to do second function and then the periods per year. This one was set at 2 periods per year. I had a semi-annual problem I guess I was working on last time. So I'm going to put 12. And then at the very top, I need to hit enter. And so I'm in a menu and I need to clear out. So I'm going to do at the very bottom, clear or clear entry twice. So now I have it set. One reason I like this app is you can see my periods per year is 12. Now I just need to enter 4 things and solve for future value. So here this is going to be 60 and then I'll hit N. So always put the number and then put it in a register, so N number of periods. So 60 N, and you see N is equal to 60. 6%. Now we know this is a decimal, 0.06, but the calculator knows that it's a decimal, so you can enter it as a whole number. So 6 and then hit interest. We'll put 13,000 in as our investment. Now let's do a word about plus and minus. Now generally a lot of times we would do present value. I'm paying 13,000 to receive, so a lot of times this would be a negative number, but I'm going to put it in as positive present value, and then 0 is payment. Now let me tell you a secret about present value and future value. They're going to be opposite signs. So if I enter this as positive, then my future value comes out to be negative. Okay, they're just opposites. If I enter the present value as negative, then my future value will come out to be positive. Okay, so they're going to be opposite signs. Since we put this in as a positive number, my future value is going to come out to be negative. Now how do I calculate future value? I'm going to hit compute at the very top left and then future value, and that's going to be greater than 17,000. Now do you see it has a negative number? So it says if we received 13,000, we'd have to pay 17,535. We could manage that by putting in the 13,000 as a negative number, present value, compute, future value, and that's 17,535 and 5 cents. So that's our answer, 17,000. Now I'm going to use Excel to check my work. So the way to do it in Excel is I'm going to look up the future value calculation. So FV, my rate is 6%. Now Excel does not have a periods per year, so I'd have to do 6 divided by 12 and get the periodic rate of about 0.5%. The number of periods is 60. The payment is going to be 0. And the present value, I'm going to put present value in as a negative present value, so my answer comes out to be positive 17,535 and 5 cents. Well, I feel good about my answer on the calculator. Okay, so it looks like you put in 13,000, then the future value after 5 years and 6% interest is going to be 17,535. Now, once that number is in the calculator, you can change it. Well, what if it were from 6% to 7% or 9%? So we could change this. At 9% interest, we'll compute future value, then it grows to 20,353. So it's very sensitive to the interest rates. Okay? Now that's example number 1. Let's look at example number 2, changing some things. Let's say we invest $5,000 annually for 20 years, earning interest of 10% annually. What's the future value? Okay, so it looks like this is an annual problem. We're putting in $1,000 or $5,000 every year. So this is going to be 1 period per year. The number of periods is going to be 20. The interest rate is going to be 10%. The present value looks like it's 0. There's nothing to start in the problem. But we're going to set aside $5,000 each year for 20 years. Now our future value is going to be what? Well, let's calculate it. Now, sometimes some teachers recommend or some professors recommend you clear everything. I always forget to do this, so I always make sure I enter everything. If you clear everything, it makes it everything 0. But I'm just going to enter all 4 things and then solve. I never have to clear my time value of money variables. Now I do need to set this for 1 period per year, so I'm going to do second function, periods per year, 1, and then hit enter at the very top. So I've set it to 1 period per year, or an annual problem. 20 is the number of periods. 10% is the interest rate, 0 is the present value, 5,000 is the payment. Now what we're saying is we're going to put in $5,000 each year for 20 years. That's 5,000 times 20, that's $100,000, right? So compute the future value. We think we're going to have $286,374 and 99 cents, and it's going to round up to 375, looks like. So let me do the math on Excel. So the future value is going to be the rate, 10%. I'm going to get in the habit of just dividing by 1. Now your calculator is a little bit better because it puts in, you can put the periods per year, so you can just put the annual rate. The number of periods is 20, that's in years. The payment, I'm going to make the payment negative, 5,000. The present value is 0, but you have to point to it. And so therefore we're going to calculate, and here's the number, 286,375, and it rounds off to 0 pennies. Let's check our work. 286, 374, and 99 rounds up, so 375. Now, if we enter the payments as positive, the future value comes out to be negative. This is the way the calculator math works. You have a cash inflow and cash outflow. So the way I did it on this, let me do it the way I would kind of think through it. 5,000 is a payment out of my pocket for the chance to receive a future value that's positive that flows into my pocket. So one's an outflow, one's an inflow, one's a negative, one's a positive. So 286,375 is going to be the answer. All right, the next one down. Your investment balance is $10,000, and then you continue to invest $400 each month for the next 15 years, and you expect a return of 9% annually. What's the balance at the end of the 15 years? Well, this looks like it is a monthly problem. Now, how do we know this? We're going to assume that if we're investing monthly, then we're going to have monthly compounding. So we'll make it monthly. Now, the 9% is the annual rate. It's not a monthly rate every month. You're going to earn 9% for the full year, but it's going to be compounded monthly. The number of periods is going to be what? Well, 15 years times 12 months. That's going to be 180 consecutive months. Now, we have a present value. Now, I want to make this present value, when I enter the calculator, we'll make that negative, and then the investment each month is negative. So these need to be either both positive or both negative. So I'm going to recommend we're going to put this as negative, put this in as negative, and so then our answer comes out to be positive, and that's the benefit of investing here. So how much, if we start with $10,000 out of our pocket, another $400 every month out of our pocket, what will we receive at the end of 15 years? Okay, let me do the Excel first, and then let's check our work this way. The rate is going to be 9% as an annual rate, but it's going to be monthly. The number of periods is 180. The payment, I'm going to make it a negative 400 because it comes out of our pocket. It's a cash outflow. The present value is a negative 10,000. It's a cash outflow, and we're going to solve, and we get 189,742. 189,742. That looks like that would be correct. So let's check with the calculator. What we're going to do, we need to set this for second function, periods per year. It needs to set it for 12 periods per year. And enter at the very top, and we'll clear out of that. So for 180 months, we're going to have a 9% return. We start with $10,000. I'm going to make it negative present value. I'm going to put aside $400 a month. That's a payment. And then compute the future value. You're going to have 189,742. So you start with $10,000, and then for 15 years you just put $400 a month, and then you turn around and you have 189,000, almost 190,000. So that's the benefit of investing just a little bit over a long period of time. So this is time value of money, very, very valuable information. Okay, one more on to calculate future value. So let's say we have a retirement account and it has $1.2 million. You expect to withdraw $6,000 each month for the next 10 years. The account earns 8% annually. What's the balance at the end of those 10 years? So this is going to be another monthly problem. The number of periods is going to be 10 times 12, right? 120 months. And the interest rate is 8%. The present value is $1,200,000. $1,200,000. You expect to withdraw $6,000 every month. Okay? Now, we're going to have to really think about this. We have to be careful on this one because we have a balance and we're not adding $6,000 to it. We're subtracting $6,000. Okay? So, from that account, that is a reduction in that account. So let's show you how we enter it on the calculator. All right, we already have our period set for 12 periods per year, so we don't have to change that. So 120 months, we're going to receive 8% interest, so 8I. Now, we have a balance of $1,200,000, so I'm going to put that in as a positive number for the present value, okay? If I enter that positive, then what would my payment be? Well, my payment's going to be the opposite. So let's think about this. I have invested $1,200,000. What's the, I'm going to make it negative here, present value. So I've invested out of my pocket $1,200,000, but I'm going to receive in my pocket $6,000 a month. $6,000, that's going to be positive. Do you see that? One is going to be positive, one's going to be negative, and then the future value will be the different sign than the present value. So let's compute future value. Okay, it looks like it's $1,565,000. Now, let's check our work. If we didn't make any withdrawals, so let's make the payments 0, then compute future value. The future value is going to grow to 2.6 million. I may have gotten rid of that too quickly. 2.6 million. Let's let Excel do it, and let's do a little what if. So the rate is going to be 8%. That's going to be monthly, right? The number of periods is 120. The payment is going to be, let's make it, because it comes into our pocket, a positive amount. The present value typically is going to be a negative amount, 1.2 million. Okay, so we're going to solve, and we got $1,565,000. Well, what if there's 0 payment? Then this 1.2 million would grow to 2.6 million. Okay, but we're starting to withdraw $6,000 every month, and so this account still is growing, but we're taking money out every month. $6,000 a month is what, times 12, $72,000 a year. So you're taking out $72,000, and then that's over 10 years, you're taking out $700,000. So here is the math. Here's how we do it. We entered the 120, the 8%. I put the 1.2 million. That's out of our pocket. 1.2 million, that's negative. We're going to receive the $6,000 is a plus, so that's a payment. And then compute future value is $1,565,892. So it gets tricky. So here's the way we entered it in the calculator. I made the present value negative. The payment, because we're receiving its positive cash inflow to our pocket, we make that positive, and future value and present value are just different signs. So if the present value is negative, the future value comes out to be positive. And so we still have coming into our pocket $1,565,000 10 years from now. So this is a good type of problem to calculate, and you can do all this on your calculator. The BA2 Plus do lots of financial calculations, including the time value of money, and future value. So I've got lots of videos on the BA2 Plus. Put your questions down below. Would love for you to like and subscribe, and any comments. And if you have any questions, put them below so I can answer those in a future video. Hey, good luck, and thanks for watching.